Genghis Khan's cruelty is etched in history, as his relentless campaigns and brutal tactics left a trail of devastation and suffering across the lands he conquered. Do you think that his men would have shown mercy to women? Join us as we unveil the eerie and unsettling accounts of what creepy things Genghis Khan's men did to women in the heart of ancient conquest. If you've ever paused to ponder the conditions faced by women during Genghis Khan's rule, it's quite likely you would have assumed that life was exceedingly harsh for them. Your assumption would not be unwarranted. History shows that many cultures of the distant past often had a less than stellar record when it came to treating women with the respect and fairness they deserved. So, it's only natural to wonder whether a leader as ruthless as Genghis Khan would have been any different in this regard. Contrary to the common perception, Genghis Khan's empire exhibited elements of matrilineality, and there were women actively participating in the Mongol army. These women weren't solely confined to the roles of concubines, they were fully equipped warriors. European women, distinguished by their fair complexions and exotic beauty, held a prized status among the Mongols. In a nomadic society, there's no room for slackers due to the sheer volume of work that must be accomplished. Everyone, including women and children, had to be actively engaged in contributing to the community. According to the University of Victoria, Mongolian women were not only expected to shoulder significant responsibilities, but they were also tasked with physically demanding chores. Women were responsible for assembling and disassembling the tents swiftly and efficiently. Moreover, they played a crucial role in managing the extensive herds of animals that nomadic tribes relied upon for sustenance. In addition to these responsibilities, they still fulfilled traditional roles like nurturing and raising children, as well as preparing daily meals. The resilience and strength of Mongolian women were evident in how they faced and overcame hardships. But was it that simple? Captured women, despite their grim circumstances, had a chance at survival, though it was a life devoid of love and harmony, free from the shackles of humiliation and mockery. An illustrative example emerges after the fall of Gorganj, the capital of Khanate of Khorasan. Forgive me if those pronunciations are wrong, where Shahin of Khorasan, Turkan, Khatun, and Werkin were taken captive. While the male members of the ruling dynasty faced immediate execution, the women of the harem were wed to Genghis Khan's officers. The fate of these former noblewomen, including Shahin herself, was undeniably tragic. The Mongols had a common practice of noble warriors claiming captive women for their harems. This served as a status symbol and brought high regard. European women with their allure were especially coveted. The Mongols viewed the capture of women as an emblem of victory, signifying their superiority over the defeated. A failure to protect one's women was seen as unworthy of life itself. Despite the submissive role of the concubine, many captives managed to rise within their new families. Notably, Dorjin, the wife of Genghis Khan's third son, Ugorei, ruled Mongolia for the significant period after her husband's death. Nevertheless, the darker side of this history reveals the tragic fates of numerous female captives who often met their end before entering the harem. They endured rape, violence, and sometimes even took their own lives. European-looking women were considered valuable gifts for brave warriors, and those who suffered often met a solitary, desolate demise on the vast steppe. Amidst these grim realities, a substantial portion of the Mongol populace sought to protect women from further dishonor. For many warriors, offering a beautiful captive to their commanders was a practical choice, as the Mongols were pragmatic people. Their ancestors reflected a society that, despite its brutality, exhibited certain nuances and complexities. But what about Genghis Khan's personal life? How did he deal with his many wives, and what special habits did he have? Before we tell you that, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel for more interesting videos. Genghis Khan's personal life was a stark contrast to his reputation as a fierce conqueror. He had 4 official wives, and by some accounts, more than 7,000 concubines. However, it wasn't about his insatiable appetite for sexual pleasures. The captured women, especially European women, served as symbols of their power and conquests. As each successful raid, the most beautiful women and girls were presented to him. During the aftermath of pillaging and abuse carried out by Genghis Khan's soldiers, the most beautiful women they encountered were brought before Genghis Khan himself. These women were spared from the mistreatment that the conquering army inflicted on others, as they were intended to be presented to Genghis Khan. The women he selected received the honor of becoming one of Genghis Khan's many wives, a fate that was preferable to the alternative. Unfortunately, women who Genghis Khan deemed to be below his standards of beauty were sent away with the soldiers, where they would face further mistreatment before their eventual abandonment. In times of peace, the status of women in Mongolia may have been more favorable. Still, when Genghis Khan and his forces arrived, it was a different and challenging situation, often prompting some to seek refuge in other regions like China. He had the authority to decide whether to bestow them upon his loyal warlords or add them to his harem as the next prized jewels in his collection. Despite the limited power of the women in his harem, they weren't subjected to torture or harassment. They were well cared for, adequately nourished, and even allowed to develop skills such as playing musical instruments or other talents if needed. One account from Chinese General Meng Hun describes a welcoming ceremony where an envoy from the north was instructed to sit down and drink wine with Genghis Khan's wife, Princess Laimon, and 8 concubines known as ladies. These women were described as exceptionally beautiful and fair. Exceptional women in Genghis Khan's harem, known for their beauty or skills, were treated differently. It's fascinating to note that even back in those times, women were called ladies. During Genghis Khan's reign, the entire orchestra consisted of 20 young ladies who played musical instruments and accompanied him on his campaigns. The great conqueror had a deep appreciation for music. Wives of defeated lords from other states often became the concubines of Genghis Khan. According to a legend, one of his closest associates was told by the Khan that the greatest pleasure for a man lay in defeating his enemies, taking their possessions, witnessing the sorrow on their faces, and seizing their daughters and wives. Some concubines were awarded by the Khan to his servants as a mark of merit. In any case, for a female captive, entering Genghis Khan's harem or simply becoming associated with the high ruler was considered one of the best outcomes in those tumultuous times. In one intriguing instance, it is recounted that Genghis Khan gave away one of his concubines following a prophetic dream. What's remarkable is that even when parting with his wife, the Khan could elucidate the reasons behind his actions. This further underscores that in the time of Genghis Khan, women were accorded a level of respect, if not always equality, they rightfully deserved. Genghis Khan bestowed the captive concubine, Ibaka Beki, to his trusted general. The great Khan explained his decision to Ibaka by presenting her with 100 men. He made it clear that his decision was not due to her bad temper or lack of beauty, nor did he question her purity. Instead, he stated that she was given to the general in recognition of his heroic service, the risks he took in battle, and his ability to unify disparate nations. Genghis Khan likened it to her father, who had given her away along with 200 men. Departing from the Khan's presence, Ibaka was requested to offer in memory a tribute akin to her father's gesture, this time consisting of 100 men. In the era of Genghis Khan, the only indiscretion for which a concubine could be executed without mercy was unfaithfulness, regardless of whether the Khan himself was in a relationship with her or not. Genghis Khan was highly possessive of what he considered his property. For example, it was known that he had a strong affection for Kulan of the Market clan. To introduce Kulan to the Khan, his close associate Nai was sent. On the way back, Nai was concerned that some warriors might behave improperly, kept the young woman at his place for 3 days. This incited the Khan's fury, and he ordered Nai's execution. However, Kulan herself spoke up in Nai's defense, stating that he was a nobleman of the Khan, and his actions were driven by a sense of responsibility. She emphasized that Nai had left them at his place to protect them from potentially hostile warriors they had encountered on the way. These events highlight the precarious fate that awaited captives who were not fortunate enough to become concubines of Mongol leaders or the Khan himself. In all likelihood, they would be left as playthings for ordinary warriors who were, as a rule, far less ceremonious. Once these warriors were done with them, the unfortunate women often met their tragic end, either through execution or in many cases succumbing to their harsh circumstances. Genghis Khan's victory celebrations were far from gracious. After his conquest, he had often resorted to abducting the wives of his defeated foes, treating them in a manner that ranged from charm to brutality, depending on their willingness. In fact, one of the most well-known quotes captures his sentiments about the aftermath of conquest. The greatest pleasure is to vanquish your enemies and chase them before you, to rob them of their wealth and see those dear to them bathed in tears, to ride their horses and clasp to your bosom their wives and daughters. What are your thoughts after watching this video? Let us know in the comments, hit that like button and subscribe to this channel for more interesting videos.